go ahead and get this meeting started. We've got a full agenda ahead of us. We're so excited. Welcome everyone that's visiting with us tonight. We appreciate you being here and being a part of our meeting. As far as roll call, the only one we're missing is Councilman Allen, and so we'll excuse him tonight. We've asked our city manager, Josh Fake, to give us an opening prayer, and then we'll go ahead and recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for this opportunity we have to gather today as a legislative body and as participants in this wonderful process to do thy will, to talk for the welfare of this incredible city in which we live. We ask thee, Father, please bless us this evening that we might have thy spirit to be with us, that we might make decisions and help this community progress and be the best that we can be. We ask you to please bless the residents of this wonderful area, that they might be protected, looked over, and know they are cared for. We ask you to please bless our first responders, our police, our fire, our public works, all those that help to make this a safe and enjoyable place to live. We ask you to please bless all of us, that we might live in harmony, that we might be happy and provided for, protected from harm's way. We are grateful for this incredible country in which we live. And we ask you to please bless our leaders. Please bless our elected leaders, both local and nationally, that they know that they are supported and that they will have the ability and support to do the things that they feel are right and will help our community progress in a positive direction. We love you, Father, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Has everyone had a chance to go over the minutes of the last meeting?
I would move we approved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Actually, in part of that motion, it looks like we have September. Do we have the minutes for September 27th? We do not.
We anticipated that we would, but
So that is just
September 5th.
September 5th. Okay. We do have our comment period. If there are any here tonight who would like to take up to 3 minutes to address the council, you may do so at this time. Are there any here? Yes, and if you'd say your name for the record.
my name's Jenny Thompson. And I just wanted to bring up a couple of weeks ago, I think it was almost exactly 2 weeks ago, I was walking up at the park and noticed in one of the parking lots there close to the walking path, it had just been trashed. And litter everywhere, broken glass everywhere. There was like a construction, like kind of like one of the construction cone things, but a little more substantial than that. That looked like it had been like stomped, probably run over by something. I was so appalled, I took a video of it. And I called the police and reported it, and I talked to Officer Denver. He explained to me that that had been going on for a while and that the city knew exactly who was doing it. And he said that nothing had been done to these kids yet, that it's like high school age kids. Anyway, so after talking to him, I went and talked to Mr. Glines, the one that's over the like Park or Parks and Rec, I think. Anyway, I talked to him and he kind of filled me in with a little more detail. I asked if they had seen that there was that mess over there. Anyway, he said that it had been going on for more than a year, and that if I remember correctly from the conversations I had, that city council hadn't decided what to do yet, that it was you guys who hadn't decided what to do. And I came into the city after talking to Mr. Lyons and talked to him at the front desk and got a complaint form, because I'm very concerned about that. Like I said, it was appalling to see that. And for one thing, it made me sad. I can't even comprehend what kind of people act like that. But I'm just wondering why that has been put to a stop.
That's a good question. That's the first time I've heard of it.
Just to make clarify something, it's, something that I didn't say that the council hasn't decided. Rather, it's been reported to the Roosevelt Police Department, and I've been working close with Chief, and they tried to come up with some ideas and options to work out something. So just to clarify that, there's nothing to say. Rather, I've been working with Chief, I notified him every time they have vandalized that parking lot, and they've been great to send an officer up and take pictures of it. They're littering, breaking glass like was mentioned, so RPD is aware of that, and we just need to come up with some options, and they've been great to send an officer up. So.
Is it in the parking lot?
It's on the very east parking lot, there by the skate park.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of loitering going on, they have no business being up there, they're just causing trouble.
Gotcha. Why not? Well, that's something we'll definitely look into.
For sure.
Can I comment just one more thing on that?
Just 3 minutes at first. And sorry, we have a
That it?
really, yeah, sorry, we have a really
That's
long
okay.
meeting tonight. So, yeah. Remind us your name.
Well, if I told you I was Isidore in Eisenberg, you'd tell me I was lying. Al Huff, I live on 8th South. By pretty good authority, for almost 88 years on this earth, I think snow is coming.
Yeah,
I'm here to try to spend some of Kirby's money. When the 8th South is plowed, what if we plow the snow to the north side of the street? Most of the children walk on the south side.
okay.
If we just bring it off the street, and then, but the sidewalk is still covered, they still walk in the street, so if we can. Then I wrote this in the budget, or
Yeah,
it's even, and I don't know who's responsible for the undeveloped land, whether it's the city responsible or the school responsible for keeping it.
usually it's the landowner, but
But I've discussed this with the school district and they said they would maintain that sidewalk and plow it.
Okay, so if then the city plowed the snow to the north side,
You know, so if time allows, how that would be done, but we gotta get through the whole town. And plus we managed to take care of the airport. So we open it up and then we get through the town and so everybody knows it's the hills, the hospitals, the schools, and priority. So we get them done first. If time allows and we can get back there after the cul-de-sacs and everything else, we could probably do that. But if the storms continue to come in, there may be times we don't get back right away, maybe the next day, or it's just not a guarantee. It just depends on how the storms.
yeah, I don't know that, all the things we have to do, I guess, like things that need to be done, so.
that's a good suggestion.
Just an idea.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks, Hal. And Jenny, one other thing, if you do have another comment, please give us sunshine, because there is a email that will go to all the council. So you can work through that avenue as well.
And that email is published on all our agendas, so it's right there.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So, excellent. Anyone else? All right, seeing them, we'll move on with our agenda. We don't have any committee appointments. Do we have any recognitions?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a letter from Aaron Brown, our Recreation Director, and I would just like to point out that I share these sentiments 100%. He says, I would like to recognize Mike Oakes and David Robinson, who are the golf course greens manager and assistant. They have both been working tirelessly all summer on the golf course, and it is in amazing shape. With the outdated sprinkler system, lack of equipment, and lack of staff, they are doing an excellent job taking care of the course. The greens are in excellent shape and are rolling phenomenally. Tee boxes, fairways, and rusts have improved, and other projects as well, such as pond beautification, collar and tee mowing, as well as tree trimming have been completed, and they have been short-staffed. All year fluctuating between 2 to 5 employees, and they haven't missed a beat. The course being open 7 days a week, sun up to sundown. You'll find these two working 55 to 65 hours a week and taking multiple sprinkler breaks. Sprinkler break calls after hours without complaint. We are going in the right direction with course maintenance and will only continue to improve with their focus and vision for the course. Signed, Aaron Brown. And I'd just like to point out, I absolutely agree with these remarks from Aaron. Just want to recognize these two employees for the great work they've done up at our golf course.
And thanks so much. And I've had a lot of positive feedback So, yes, they've been doing excellent, thank you. And how do we make sure that we gotta do something to make sure that they feel our appreciation for them, so.
Absolutely. Mr. Brown was gonna let them know that they were gonna be recognized tonight as well.
Normally we get a little, maybe we can get a little something, we've done that with the staff before.
So we need to bring back the employee of the month.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Excellent. Okay, city car lease program, Rhonda,
I'm in the hot seat.
you're out of the chute, the first one out.
Okay, I'm a little bit out of my comfort zone, I don't have hard numbers going on with me. Here is our dilemma. We are at crunch time because we have leases that are up. And we had, we initially were working with one lease company, Bancorp. And then, the police department is still working with Bancorp. We took the city fleet, last year, and we leased 2 vehicles through Unified. And so we had planned on replacing our Bancorp leased vehicles this year through Unified. Basically, what it boils down to is we do not have enough funding in the budget for continuing the lease program. What I received from Unified, and I should mention that Mike is here from Unified, he wrote out, in case you had questions, the prices of the leases. The lease program has changed a little bit through Unified, and it's a little bit more like Bancorp in that it's a 5-year lease with the emphasis being on like the first 2 or 3 years, and then you can, there's a residual, you can purchase the vehicle or they'll sell it. And if we're over the residual, which most of the time we probably should be, any amounts that were over back to the city, it's the same thing that we've had through Bank. Unfortunately, as you know, I inherited all of this. All of this took place before I got here, and we have not done a full round yet. We will be handing Bancorp, the first 11 vehicles are due to go back to them. And then we will know if there is a residual that comes back to the city or not. So I have nothing to base that on. I don't have hard numbers for what the new leases are going to be. So you have some information that I gave you. It's gonna look really convoluted, so I'll explain really quick what this is. This is stuff we got from Bob at Bancorp. We have in our fleet now, Ford F-150 XLTs. So this first one is showing what the state contract price is for a Ford XLT. What came in because of availability, whatever it is, we will be receiving Lariat. So the next one shows the state contract price for a Lariat. What we are paying is on the 3rd page. So we are paying $4,300 below state contract price for these leased Lariats. And correct me, Chief, if I get anything.
Okay, you're doing great.
And there's a package that goes with these. So with Bancorp, they take the vehicle, it's sent to, what is the name of the company?
Lighting Solutions.
Yes, okay. The LS, and they outfit it. So we have a different package to outfit a patrol vehicles from, say, a K-9 vehicle or an admin vehicle, or the detectives. There's this even outfitted a little bit differently. And so those prices can vary. And so with all this convoluted stuff that I just put before you, the big sheet that I gave you basically shows what our lease, what our fleet is right now. All of this is outside of equipment and other things. These are just just our vehicles within the lease, or within our fleet. And whether we own them or whether they're leased, and who they're leased through, and kind of like giving you what our current payments are, what is in the budget. You'll see we're over the budget on some of them. I've gone back and forth with the chief, trying to gather all the information I have, and again, I don't have hard numbers on all of this, but trying to make sense of this, because it is 0 hour, and I need to know. My biggest question to you is, would you like to see the fleet continue on the lease program as a whole? Would we like to see maybe going back to purchasing the city vehicles and having a rotation? What I've been told, the reason we went to the lease program to begin with, and again, all this happened before I got here, that our maintenance costs were extremely high. I can't validate that because it wasn't actually maintained in the system so that I can clearly see how much of this was maintenance, how much of it was repairs. I don't know. It would take a lot to come up with that at this point. Chief is very happy. He has worked with Bancorp, both at Naples and now here, for quite some time, and he likes the program. A 2-year lease for the police department might make sense because of the miles that they do put on, and the fact that Bancorp outfits the vehicle. Yes, our lease costs are a little higher because of that, but then when we go to replace it, we don't have to strip that. All of that equipment belongs to Bancorp, and it just goes with the vehicle. And we have the watch guards and a few pieces of equipment like that are pretty easy to get out of the vehicles. Cages and all of that just go with the vehicle when they leave. So, one of the things that I have thought about with saying city fleet, it's all city, but the public works and water and sewer department and the parks and the others that have vehicles, if we were to get back to purchasing those and having it in a rotation where we would just buy a few each year to keep the fleet, so it wasn't quite so old. We do not put that many miles on these vehicles. They're not driven home or, anything like that. And so, they can get some use, there's no doubt about it, but, I also think that it would be really good for us to look at, doing that, if we decide to go that way, utilizing our local dealerships and building that relationship back, because that's what the city did once upon a time, I understand. So, being a small community, I think that goes a long way. So, at this point, I have recommendation over here, and this recommendation comes up to, my asking for $198,980 we don't have in the budget. We have the funding. Most of it would come through either the water department, the sewer department, or they all have capital funds that are sitting there that we could utilize for this. But that would actually be renewing the leases for right now on the 2 city vehicles that we do have. We have a 1-ton through Unified that's being used by the Public Works Department, which they need something that can hold the equipment. That's why we went with, we looked to get a 1-ton. Would also be renewing the lease for the Explorer that we had with Unified. What I'll need to do there is just see if we can still go with 1-year leases, giving us time to figure out in the big picture what we want to do. So that's, something that we could probably discuss with Unified. And the other thing is they do have pre-ordered for us one more 1-ton. We have Dan Matson, who does the work. Well, he works for Public Works, but he's also working closely with Ryan doing the heavy equipment work for many of our projects. And he does not have a city vehicle at all, and he really needs to be able to equip it with gas tanks and all these things. So, and holding equipment and what have you. So that's, again, a 1 ton there. But what this would have us doing is purchasing 6 of the leased vehicles that we have now at the residual price, which is $31,000, which $31,000 for a 2021 F-150. Most of them are selling right now in the upper 40s. So that is kind of my recommendation, just because we don't have a lot of time here and I've got to make some decisions in a hurry. When you do it, I have to do whatever you decide.
Let's, really quickly, what does the lease cost us yearly?
Okay, so that is current year lease payment. That gives you an idea of what the lease payments are. A fully equipped police vehicle right now is
Do you have a total on that one?
$750. We paid last year $85,561 was our annual payment to Bancorp, and that was for 16 vehicles for annual payment.
Okay,
Which is average.
It's about 5,000 a vehicle.
Yeah, average of 5,300. Yeah. Some higher, some lower, some partial years,
And so with our lease price going up then?
Again, I don't have hard numbers from Bancorp. What I'm being told is that the base price I have the base price here somewhere. I have the base price, but it just depends on what the package is. So of the 7 that we have coming in, there will be 5 patrol cars and 2 admin. Our last patrol cars, it was $11,500 in additional costs for outfitting.
When you need to know around it, the only reason I ask is because it's hard, I mean, if we had, because you can put the numbers to, like, if we purchase the vehicle, you look at depreciation and everything else, and you can come up with a number, purchase the vehicle and then sell it in a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, you can predict what will come back and what impact that will have versus a lease program. That's all I would need personally to make a decision.
Which is why I say I'm a little uncomfortable coming up here presenting this to you, and I don't have hard numbers. And our leases are up now. So we basically need to make a decision, or we are going to have some employees who are not going to have a vehicle. I will say that we had, if you look at the one page that I gave you from, it says Umpqua.
It's from Oregon.
Yes, okay. Well, then you should know.
It's a river, actually, in Umpqua, Oregon.
Okay, this is through Unified, and the vehicles that we see on here, the TBD vehicles, were all vehicles, if you remember, I came to you last fall and said we have to pre-order. We're not obligated on anything, but we have to order these if we hope we get them because availability has become more difficult. So these are those vehicles. However, the lease amounts are considerably higher. And the top 2 are the ones that we already are leasing. And you can see that the Ford Explorer, which last year cost us $7,500, is $9,400 this year. That's almost 26% increase. And the 1 ton went from $6,000 to $7,600.
Because interest rates went up? Or just the cost?
I think cost of vehicles have gone up, I think interest rates have gone up, I think everything just keeps going up, and so.
What leases, sorry to ask so many questions, but what leases are, how many of the leases are coming up this year that we actually have to address, and how many are just kind of going to flow through the next year? Because they're a 2-year lease, so they all on the same.
So you'll see, lease origination there. The two that we have with Unified, they were 1-year leases, so they are due. They are up for renewal or termination right now. Through Bancorp, they are 2-year leases, so everything that says October 2021 is being replaced by another vehicle that's already in the works. All of this was all pre-approved and, the program just going as is.
So the police vehicles really aren't changing.
And at this point, I don't have numbers, so I don't know that it's going to cost us any more than what we had budgeted.
Okay.
But I do know for the other vehicles, the lease amounts that we had budgeted are not sufficient to cover. And that's why the more we talked about this, we wondered if it just didn't make sense to maybe keep the vehicles we have through Bancorp by purchasing them at the residual price of $31,000.
Well, I know when this was first brought to the council to lease versus purchase, they did have the numbers of what the actual cost was, and this leasing annually was cheaper.
Yeah, there was quite a potential, good.
But now that everything has changed and prices have gone up, but also to own a vehicle now costs you a lot more too. So I don't know that data, it's gonna be more money, but I don't know that the cost to lease versus own is gonna still be better or worse. I don't know that.
Yeah, you'll see, fuel prices are up again, so you're seeing the Maverick bill come through again, right? We're spending over $10,000 a month on fuel. One good side to this is I was able to work with Commercial Tire out here. They are the sole provider right now for the city for our tires. And we actually have a government amount from Firestone and Bridgestone. We sent our first F-150, one of the police vehicles out there, and we got a full set of tires for a little over $700. That's phenomenal. So we're doing what we can to try and keep costs down, but fleet is my nemesis.
So let's say the Bancorp stays somewhat the same,
We're hoping.
and we're only looking at the Unified. I only see 3 Unified vehicles on here that we're leasing current. Is that accurate?
There's 4 for the city.
Which one am I missing? So I have the admin,
There's the
the
parks,
Dusty Anderton, and then the Danny Madison.
Parks, Clyde, Dusty, Sawyer, Clyde, Brady, and Dustin Lights. Those are the 4 that are.
Sawyer says Bancorp though.
Yeah, so does Clyde.
Oh, they are. I'm sorry. Ask me the question again. Maybe I heard.
So do those, so Bancorp, are we anticipating those are going to go up? Or you're saying the current lease payment, $63.47?
We don't have availability of vehicles to replace it. Okay. We would have had to have ordered those, and we ordered instead through Unified, and again, those prices have gone up significantly. And it's just, there's nothing available for us to lease through Bancorp to replace these right now.
For the 4 city vehicles, not the
Yes.
police department.
The police
department's taking care of
Yes.
So 198,000 is going to purchase 6.
6 vehicles and renew leases on 2 and take one of the Unified vehicles, the new leases. That would be the 2 1-tons would then be on the lease program. Would be a similar thing where we would have a residual where we could look at purchasing those, or we could,
And are we purchasing because,
no, we don't have to purchase. At the end of that, if we want to sell that, anything over the residual, we would receive as,
so what would the number be if we just renewed the leases and didn't worry about purchasing?
that doesn't change the lease amounts.
No, I get that, but this 198,980,
We have to make the budget.
Oh, if you just wanted to purchase the 3 or the 6 vehicles and not renew leases, or?
is the 198,980 just to renew leases, or is
No,
it purchasing vehicles?
That's 3 leases and, 6 vehicles.
And so what I'm saying is instead of buying 6 vehicles, why don't we just renew
The lease
the
for
lease?
those here.
Yeah.
That is, a potential, I believe.
So the 7 we replaced for the police department have been ordered in the process. The 4 for the city is
But we can renew the lease for one more year or no.
you
Because what
can continue on for the
5 years, right? I mean,
It's like a 5-year lease, the residual just goes down but so do the lease payments, I'm told. I just have not been able to get to give
So-
any numbers.
And this is, the reason I mention that is, as you've already mentioned, the cost of vehicles have also increased, so we're gonna pay more. But, the 25%, that is a significant increase. But over the course of 1 year, it's really only $1,900 for the one vehicle and $1,600 for the other vehicle, so we're talking just a few $100s a month.
Sure.
And so if we can extend that 1 more year,
And
it's really not costing the taxpayers a whole lot. We can still probably sell those vehicles for more than what they're worth above and beyond the residual, because the price of vehicles have increased, and then that gives us time to do a thorough analysis of buying vehicles versus leasing vehicles.
yes.
The 7 we're turning in, we haven't seen that come back either because they haven't been sold yet. So we haven't made that complete.
So, sure.
But we would have that information a year from now if we can renew those leases for those 6 vehicles 1 more year and utilize them.
That would only increase our budget really, instead of 198,980, it would really increase our budget like 10 or 12,000.
So
Yeah. Well,
Well, yeah, about 12,000.
12 plus whatever it is for the lease for those 6. So,
There's 6 new. What else is this? The 7 for the police department.
Maybe should have budgeted for 6 new leases, right? Because we're not adding 6 new vehicles to the fleet, right? I thought there's just 1 for Danny.
yeah, okay, so yes, we have vehicle leases budgeted for the water department and for the city vehicle. But there was, parks, we were not leasing that one because we were not utilizing that, but now I believe the parks department does one vehicle, is that correct?
Does want one? Do you not have
But
one?
I think that we can utilize
I've been using that.
one of the surplus vehicles might be something that we could utilize with them. That was kind of what I thought we might do with the parks.
It would be good for at least the next year and then again, working into the next budget. Unless the wheels are going. That's not good.
I still remember what Councilman White said, that there was significant savings in the lease when we were presented the data, and that's why we went with it. I would prefer staying with it. I'm still, I like this suggestion, maybe staying, if we do decide to buy, to stay with at least the police officer vehicles, because I want them to, because they put a lot of miles on, we need to have good vehicles for them. I could see maybe looking at for admin and some of the others where we're not putting miles on, maybe the lease program isn't as significant, and maybe buying a vehicle might, and maybe at the end of the lease, buying it for a cheaper amount and saving that. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But I think we need to at least go another year so we can see kind of how the whole system is actually working.
That's my thought too, is just we need to just run through and see where our money's at and decide from there, because we could probably get historical data, if we needed to at some point. It's gotta be somewhere in record. I like the idea of doing whatever's cheapest, but keeping the status quo.
Okay.
And I like that idea too, because we don't even know what the backside is gonna be when we turn the lease vehicles in and see what the residual is gonna be, and then moving on forward. So it would be I think this is a really good discussion for, 6 months from now or 3 or 4 months from now in anticipation of the new budget coming up next year. But I think, just going with the higher leases for this year is still only gonna cost us, $12,000 to $20,000 more than what we anticipated, hopefully. And then we don't have to worry about $198,000 chunk to come up with.
If the lease program is kind of where you'd like to see us continue going.
I think it's a good program. I think it's, especially for our police department, I feel like it's providing them the tools and
For the police department, definitely. So Chief and I were kind of crunching some numbers, trying to come up and, so like the city vehicles, we figure we've spent about $7,000, they have a $31,000 residual. So if they were to go back this year, which they won't, we'll release, lease them one more year. But if they were, 68.75 is what we needed to break even so that we would receive all of our money back that we had leased them. So if we could sell this vehicle for $37,875, we'd get enough back to where we would have leased that for nothing.
Yeah.
A 2-year period.
Right, and that was the point.
Which could definitely happen, they're selling, like I said, we've got some, data that they had given us, showing that most of them are in the mid-40s, able to resell.
Well, and whether I think, I'm in agreement with the rest of the council, and that's good information. Let's cross our fingers. Hopefully we can get that 37, whatever it is, and but at least it'll be a full loop, so we can from start to finish, we know exactly what to expect. And then I think next year, and even in a few months, 3, 4, 5 months when this happens, that data can be crunched and then compared against buying, and then we can make a much better decision.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rhonda.
Appreciate you. Okay, next item, animal overlayment zoning district.
Good evening, council. Just to update on the process of the animal overlayment. We had a application come through for a zone request for animals in our R1 zone with a gentleman who had grandfathered animal rights. So it was recommended that we take it back to planning and zoning for an animal overlayment district in the city within different zones with enough square footage to accommodate such a request. So planning and zoning did deny the request for the animal overlayment zone and requested that they just keep what is there and keep the animals to the RR1 zone.
You mean R1?
Well, it's-
It looked like, sorry, I don't mean to correct it, it's just a question, because on the agenda items I looked at, like it was 1717-031, which would be referring to R1, not R. So I don't, because I live in RR1, that's why I'd be concerned if it was R.
So RR1 rather than R1?
Yeah. Okay, this is overlaying all the zonings, or is
No,
this?
so this was recommended that it would create a new overlayment zone. The R1 district, the RR1 district would still retain the animal rights. It would be introducing new rights to various zones with an acre of ground.
Now, was it just the RR1 or R1, or was it in general? So the
overlayment proposal was any district within the city minus the RM districts with 43,560 square feet, an acre of ground. That was the proposal.
So basically, it would reduce the amount that somebody in R1 could have.
No,
Increase the amount.
no, just the opposite. So here's, can I explain it really quickly?
Please, sorry.
In just the way I understand it, and then you can correct me. But, so what happened is we have a property owner, we have several property owners in the city that have grandfathered rights. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but to try to keep track of who has grandfathered rights and who doesn't have grandfathered rights is kind of a pain. So the difficulty is, this property actually did change hands between a father and a son, but they're still using the property with the animal rights when it's actually zoned in an R110.
110.
So the thought was, instead of trying to figure out who has grandfathered rights, who doesn't have grandfathered rights, trying to keep track of all that, the thought was if there's adequate area, so if that individual has if that individual has an acre or more, then they could treat that property as if it was in an R1 zone. Meaning, if they wanted to have a horse or two and they had a full acre in an area, then they could do that. And then all the grandfather rights would go away. If that was ever subdivided, then it fits whatever size lots those are. Is that kind of?
We do have a list, and it was issued to all the property owners at the time that they created this grandfather clause. We do have that list. The property owners do have a copy of the letter as well. And to answer your question, David, or Councilman Baird, RR meaning rural residential zone. So, and the R zone, RR, it's basically the same. But the recommendation I would, and Bill can speak to the reasons if you'd like to know the concerns from the commission. But my recommendation would be to take, for example, it's a short list. We've got, I believe, 6 that's still on the books. If we give the one at hand is concerned about wanting to sell that property and retain the animal rights if he sells the property. My recommendation is he has 2.5 acres. If that property is retained in a continuous acreage and not divided, that we issue a letter or a certificate or whatever, that those animal rights will retain with that property in the event that it is subdivided, split off in any way, shape, or form, those would dissolve. He would be happy with that, Greg Buxton, and we could offer that to the grandfather animal right holders if that would be something the council would be interested in doing.
So planning and zoning is that their recommendation?
That would be staff's recommendation. This has not been brought to the planning and zoning body. It's just an idea that we could bring back to planning and zoning.
So planning and zoning, we just decided against it. One of the biggest issues is enforcement. Who enforces it? I mean, even though that, that particular one has the 2.5 acres. He puts a couple goats in there and then all of a sudden the neighbor's gonna put a couple goats in and then 30 chickens and a pig.
We already have that happen.
I know, and that's the problem, is there's no enforcement on it, and nobody's gonna turn their neighbors in because they're doing the same thing. And I mean, you can drive downtown and, behind, what is it? Maverick on the east side, and I mean, you got roosters crowing all day long, you got animals in there that, and I don't know what this city is as far as dogs, but I've always been under the impression that 3 or more, you should have a kennel permit, but nobody enforces that.
Yeah.
And so there's areas that tend to get a little trashier. I don't want to say trashier, just unkept, unmaintained, because there's no enforcement.
Yeah, and I think what you've said is more accurate than what's actually allowed, is it's not being enforced. And that's what we're looking at doing as well. I know Drew's been out there trying to enforce some of that, and he's caught a lot of flack for that. We appreciate him, doing his job, and then we have our chief of police that is also working in conjunction with Drew to enforce. And I think the enforcement issue is the bigger issue than what people can actually are allowed to have within their zoning, because you're right, if there is no enforcement, technically it's a free-for-all.
So for us, why add more if we're not on top of what we have already?
I get that.
So according to the notes, then it looks like you motion to keep it the same as it is currently.
Drew, if we went through with what the staff suggested, would that give anybody more animal rights than they currently have?
No, it would basically be a legacy that they could sell with those animal rights grandfathered. And
But
that's
it would only apply to lots bigger than an acre.
only to the lots that were grandfathered.
So,
And that was the main concern with the gentleman who made the application request, is he wants to be able to sell that potentially and know that those would follow the property if it was retained with the acreage that is established, right?
So Grant has a comment, I think, but one of the questions that I have is it comes down to an enforcement issue anyway, because if planning and zoning that property comes before planning and zoning to be divided into one acre lot and one 1.5 acre lot. Who's going to say, oh, that has a letter of, grandfathered in for animal rights, and when you do that, you're gonna lose that. But that's just kind of a rhetorical question. Let's go to what Grant comment was.
I have some concern with what's being proposed and would like some time to see if I can figure out how to make it work from a legal standpoint. But my concern is that the laws regarding property that's been grandfathered in is not something that we as a city have control over. And so I don't know that we can just say, yeah, we'll recognize those indefinitely or even go into one more owner, because the courts are the ones who have kind of refined those laws. And so we are able to create other change laws in our ordinances, but we can't change the case law, which is where the grandfather laws originate. And so I'm not sure that's going to be an option, but I'm happy to do some research on it and see if I can figure out a way that we could make it work, but would ask you to table it to give me some time to do that, if that's an option that you would like to pursue.
Yeah, go ahead, Drew.
One other comment from the commission, and Dale can speak to this as well. It came out as a concern that, say you have a parcel of property in an area that was not allowed for animals, and they built their home, and now we're introducing animals in that area. That could potentially be a problem, a backlash come back to the city. That was one concern that came from the.
Is there any areas that don't allow animals except for the RN areas, zones?
So as far as if we introduce the RR animals, yes.
No, I get that.
Yeah, but to answer your question, no, it would be the RN 13 and 18s that don't allow
Don't allow animals, period. Every other zone allows a certain amount of animals depending on the size of lots and things like that.
3 sheep and 3 goats up to 9 months old.
Yeah.
I know, and 6 chickens, no roosters or crowing.
I'll guarantee I'll bet of all the citizens we have in Roosevelt, the only 2 that even really know are you and Dell of what everyone's supposed to have. And so it does come down to an enforcement issue. And so you're right, maybe not muddy up the water until we have the enforcement and certain things straightened out. I do like Grant's idea. I think it's obviously something that we probably table, unless somebody feels strongly.
Well, it's a discussion item, Mayor, so I don't think we have to vote on it.
Yeah.
Or is it later?
Oh, yeah, it's still discussion.
This was just a proposal. We've just come up with, I love Grant's recommendation, and we definitely need to work with Grant on anything moving forward. So.
Well, we do appreciate our commission. That's what our planning and zoning commission, that's what they're there for, to help us think of things that we might not catch. And so we appreciate that. We'll take that under consideration, and then have our legal counsel kind of look at it and see if we can listen to things. Excellent. Fee schedule amendments, airport hangar space, lease fees. I'll go ahead and tackle that one. So we do have a new lease for our private hangar lease. So the lease is in place. We just don't have a price per square foot. We talked about it. There was a number thrown out there, 16, 23. I actually got a hold of Vernal, and they said they're going to redo theirs, and they're looking at the price of, let me see, city manager of Quinn. So Quinn said that they're going to be anywhere from 18 to 25 cents per square foot. So we were talking about 16 to 23 cents a square foot, I think, or something like that, right, Curry?
Yeah.
And so what came from the airport board was that range, 16 to 23 cents a square foot. Duchesne, I still think is like 12 cents a square foot. So we just want to make sure that we're in the ballpark in the market, and we want to make sure that we're priced for growth instead of before we were priced to push business away. We want to be priced for growth. So I would recommend personally that we go towards the lower end of that. We have to hit the lower end, but if they're thinking 18 to 25, My recommendation is about 18. Probably not something with a escalation clause in it that would go up. I think it has in there 3 or 5%.
It says 3 up there.
3%. Oh, yeah. So, but obviously, any thoughts or do you have anything to add to that?
No, I just agree with you. I think we should stay at the lower end, you know, and encourage the growth. So I would like to see probably.
Personally. Any thoughts on that from the council? This is an action item, so.
It's actually a public hearing.
Public hearing.
Can we do,
Let's do the swim as well. One other thing that I'd like to bring up in the public hearing, and it's not on here, but it is, but it isn't, but we're gonna slide it in because it's a airport hangar space lease. We've got to make a decision on what we charge for a nightly rent, a weekly rent, and then we already have a monthly rent set for our main hangar, which is $300. So that, it says $75,200. I got thinking about that, you know, and I talked to Dean, he was thinking on a little lower than that. But that's something that we might want to, well, I think that's something we could definitely decide on as a council. But I was wondering about 50, 150, and 300. What do you think about?
Yeah, I actually personally was thinking 50
Okay.
a day and the 150.
Okay, all right.
I think that's.
I think that's more in line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
So-
Is an agreement?
Any thoughts on that from the council before we go into public hearing? We can talk about the aquatic center swim club fees at the same time, and then we'll just do everything at once. Any discussion?
As far as
On just the
all of that,
hangar, so 18 cents for the property lease, 50, and so we'd have to amend that with $50 a night and 150 a week for the main hangar.
I think that's good. I'd like Kirby's recommendation, 50 for daily and 150 for weekly.
Okay. Perfect. Then we'll turn the time over to Edwin for swim meet.
Swim club.
Swim club.
Good evening. So in regards to the city swim club, looking to see about reformatting the structure to help with clarity, as well as to help with, financial clarity for us to kind of track what's coming in and out into the financial accounts. And also to keep it in line with what a lot of the other state facilities are doing as well for their city clubs. To give you kind of a little history in the back lightly, so in the past, what we've been doing is we've had them actually pay a public facility membership, as well as an annual $25 per year equipment fee. And that would only go to equipment upkeep, so it really limited them to what they can actually do with the program. Some thoughts of what we were looking to see about doing is changing the name from a club equipment fee to a swim club fee. That way we can allow more options for the club to purchase more items that they could use for the swim meets. They like to get like little bag snack type of things or other little light items. It will also help so that we could put more of what the club is spending into this account instead of having some of the aquatic center budget lines covering some of these items. Helps so we can keep everything that's going in, but also put it in the same account. It's also been hard to track revenue for the club with a facility membership. We've had people where they have a family membership and cover the club and open swim. It was made a really gray and kind of vague area to try to hone in what the club is actually doing and what is the club bringing in. In comparison to other facilities, I do have another, we're able to get down on there too. Okay, I might need to zoom in. I usually have really small print on my stuff too, so. So if you go to the top, you'll notice what the Tiger Muskies, that's our city club, what we've been doing currently. So you see family membership and that $25 fee. You can also see with other ones, Vernal, they do a $50 per month or $60 per month during their seasons. You can see a lot of the other facilities, what that would equate to an annual amount. And so with that information right there, to actually put us on the map and to kind of follow suit at a starting point, my proposal would be to, one, drop the membership options and then have the club just pay a $75 per athlete per season fee. fee. That way we can at least put us on the map to start, which is already a whole lot more than what they would have been doing currently. 25 per year versus 75 per season. You're already looking at 150 that would be upping that in addition to dropping the membership requirement. So, like I said, by doing this too, it would help cover a lot of the costs. We can try to keep a lot more of their expenses, their travel expenses for the coaches and everything else under the same umbrella.
So this is an added fee on top of their membership fee?
So this would be dropping the membership requirement for the club and just only charging them the $75 per athlete.
And it would be $50 additional fee than what they paid.
Per season, because like I said, the 25 was annual versus seasonal.
Mine said 50 when I printed it yesterday, so it was.
Yeah, we just barely revised that actually over the past 24-ish hours, so.
That's fine.
I'm glad you read the first one right there, though.
Well, I have it, I printed it and read it. I just,
So is this is a city-sponsored swim club? This is basically run under the umbrella of the city?
Yes, coaches are hired by, yes.
And so this would separate, in a way, it basically give them
Their own time and program.
their own time, you say?
Yeah, because right now, what would stop the public? Yeah, I've got a family membership, why can't my kid join that same program?
Okay, I see.
That's another point with that too. You drop that, it's just a club fee that is technically their membership as well,
Okay,
for their allotted time.
so that $75 per athlete per season fee, is that gives them the time? Is it specified? Do they get to also come work out in the morning with that $75
That's a
fee?
good question. They would need a separate membership to go to public times at that point.
So that's just to be a part of
Part of the club, the city.
and that's the only fee that would be involved with being part of the club team.
If they were, yes, they were only going to the club's allotted times that are on the schedule. Thank you for that clarification. That is important to know.
and we're thinking like Tiger Muskie Group, is that one of the?
Yes, that's the
The
Tiger
name.
Muskie City Swim Club.
Okay.
So, yes,
And that's for one season, $75 per season.
correct, yes.
So there's 2 seasons in a year.
You're looking at, yes, so you got your fall, winter, and then you got your spring, summer, so you'll be paying $150 annually per kid.
I have 3 kids on my.
I know what you're asking here, yeah.
Yeah, that's good money, but yeah, I understand it.
But then in essence too, like you could look at the other facilities on that other form that we had, we're even on the lower side of the average with other places that they do.
I don't feel like this is unreasonable. I think that's fair.
And it's a starting point. This is something I'd like to assess later too, and to see how much more to make sure that what is actually coming in off the club is actually what we're spending. I don't want to do more than what is necessary to help make sure we're branching even on it, so.
Any other questions for Evan on that?
So can we go into public hearing for both?
Let's go ahead and,
I would move we go into public hearing for the 2 changes to the fees,
so airport hangar space lease fees and aquatic center swim club fees.
thank you.
Okay, do we have a second? Second by Councilman Power, all in favor?
Aye.
We'll consider ourselves in a public hearing. Are there any in the public tonight that would like to comment for or against the proposed changes? Seeing none, oh yes, go ahead.
I wanted to ask a question about your airport hangar. I know you compared the Vernal Airport up there, and I know that they're looking for amenities like sewer. It's like, are those available here also?
We do have, water's available now. Sewer would be a little bit of a challenge, but we can get sewer there. Yeah.
That was just my question. Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments?
Move we go back to regular session.
For me, Don.
Oh, sorry. I'm just trying to keep things moving. Ryan likes it when I keep things moving.
All right, we have a motion to move back into regular session. Do we have a second? Second by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll consider ourselves back in regular session. Let's go ahead to action item 10A. And 10B, no. We want to do 10A. Let's just do 10A. We'll forget about 10B. I don't even think we're going to talk about 10B, are we? Probably not. Let's just, let's just do 10A for now. Well, do we have a motion concerning the amended fee schedule?
I would move we approve the airport at 18 cents and the recommendation by Edmund for the swim club.
We have a motion and then,
Well, Sunshine has.
We also get in the motion because there was a revision to what I had for the.
$50, yeah, $50 a day for the main hangar and $150 a week for the main hangar.
Yes, please add that to my motion.
Second still.
And second with Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is unanimous. Now, city car lease program, do we need to do the budget reopen tonight? Okay, we'll go ahead and pass on that one. And so 10B, we'll scratch that from the list. Let's move on to 10C. Shane County School District Facilities Use Contract Approval. That's not quite 100% done, but we did want to propose at least the fees associated with that for consideration during the time being.
So, as I think you're all aware, there was a joint meeting between the school board and the city council last week. There were two contracts being discussed, the SRO agreement and the facilities use agreement. The discussion on the facilities use agreement, I think was productive. There ended up being an agreed upon amount that the school would pay and some parameters agreed on what that would be covering. I wasn't able to draft the agreement yet because I needed more details on exactly what they would be getting at both the pool and the golf course. Edwin is giving me the details for the pool. I still need to get with Aaron to talk about the finer details on the golf course. But what we're asking for approval on tonight is just the amount that was agreed upon by the school board and the council, and that amount would be $50,000. To give you a basic idea of what it would cover is at the pool, practice and swimming meets. Edwin's given me the times and kind of the season dates or what we were missing there, but I think that both the school board and the council were on the same page for what it was covering. I just need to know the specifics of what it is so I can reduce it to writing. And then at the golf course, it was similar, it would be covering golf and the cross-country meet that was there. Again, I think that what the council and school board intended it to cover is understood. I just need the details from Aaron so I can put it into writing. And then I would also be addressing the gyms that the city uses for recreation programs, but they're owned by the school. The school would allow us to use it, but I still need to get dates on the window for seasons. And the city would be paying, at least for adult sports, $15 per person. The city in this meeting had offered to pay for all use in city programs. The school was kind of making a different offer back to us, that if we would pay for adults, they didn't want to charge the students. And so there's still a little bit of work that I need to do ironing out the language for how that's going to go.
I think one of their concerns, Grant, on that was that they didn't want the cost to the student to increase like for junior jazz. And we told them that the amount that we collect for junior jazz, we would take that fee out of that amount and give it to the school, and it wouldn't increase the amount to the student. And so I think, we can go either way on that. I just want to make sure that moving forward, there's no question that we're paying our fair share, and then no question that they're paying a fair amount for what they're getting as well.
Yeah. And that's why I'm still trying to work through some of the finer details. It's just to make sure that it's very clear and specific on what it's for. But if you guys are willing to go ahead and approve the amount, I think you even if you wanted, could approve the agreement subject to legal review, and then I can just produce the final product.
Mayor, just a reminder, I've chosen not to vote, given my position on the school board, so I know I could vote, but I'm just gonna stay out of this one, so.
All right. Given that, one thing that was not mentioned is the SRO, so 50,000 for the golf course and the pool usage, and that would be combined, and we would give them, time both for the golf course and the pool. And so it's just one lump sum, it'd be much easier for them to administer, and the second was 60,000 for.
Yeah, we want to go over it, and there is an agreement in it.
Okay, let's just do the first one then on the amount.
One other thing that I forgot to point out is there had been, throughout this process, some discussion of including Centennial Elementary and the fields there. What was decided in the meeting is just to carve that out, because there's already an existing agreement that goes into a more detail than we had talked about recently. And what I've heard from Dustin is that one's working fine, and the school district seemed to think the same thing. So we quickly just eliminated that from the discussion and won't be making it.
That was when you and I worked with
Yeah.
Superintendent Brotherson on.
Yeah, and we actually found the original contract. It is a decent contract. Nobody was really following the contract, so we just decided, let's all follow the contract, and it'll be just fine. Yeah. So, I guess on this one, we can approve it, just the amount, and then have the contract with the full verbiage and body of the contract come back before council, or we can approve it with the amount and subject to legal counsel review and just have Grant put those in and then present it at a later time, just for our knowledge. So either way.
I'll make the motion to approve for 50,000, subject to legal counsel.
Okay.
And then, did you say we make this, in this motion, we include both the facilities and the SRO?
No, let's just do this one. Yeah, because the SRO administration go, I think so.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? And then we do have one that abstained, which is Councilman Roosevelt.
Okay, and I'll just make sure that a copy of the final draft is sent to you guys for your review.
Excellent. And then if you'll go ahead to D.
Okay, the SRO agreement, I think we have everything worked out. I have a copy here, but I've heard that the school district, was he wanting to meet again? Okay, so Superintendent Young is wanting to meet to talk about some of the provisions in the agreement. Is that correct?
Yes, he said just a couple of small clarifications. He did not say what they are. I told him that we're gonna have the contract drafted by Grant. He's welcome to go over anything he would like to, but we have the meeting and the contract will be set. So
Okay.
I told him that there is no anticipation to change anything, but it is on council agenda for approval.
Okay, but we were able to talk about this one, I would say, in more detail in the meeting because we had a working draft that had been circulated for everybody to review in advance. And so a lot of the changes that we were discussing were in just more detail. In this one, what I'm asking you to approve is the amount, which, as the mayor mentioned, was agreed upon to be $60,000. And then there were a few additions that I had pointed out needed to be added to the contract, which I've done. And those were the term, which is 5 years, and then there's an automatic renewal provision for additional 5-year periods. And there's a built-in increase in the compensation amount that will be no less than 3% or more than 6%. So we put both a floor and a ceiling, but then still use the CPI all items index to figure where between 3 and 6% is going to fall. So that's been added. We also needed a termination clause. We put that either side can terminate with 90 days written notice, but then there is an additional way that the city can terminate the agreement, and that is for emergencies. And this is thinking specifically about if, for unforeseen circumstances, staffing falls below the point that chief is able to cover all of his responsibilities, that he could terminate this. And then I put language in there that as soon as the emergency is dealt with, that we would be willing to re-enter into the agreement on the same terms and conditions. An example of how this could come up is if there was a shooting and say 4 officers were involved and had to be put on administrative leave, and that typically goes on for a couple months in my experience. He just may not have enough officers to do this and everything else. When we talk about the example of why we need that, the school board seemed to be on board with it too. And I just put in there, chief, that we would make a good faith effort to resume as soon as it's practical. All right. Okay, so that's been added. Another thing for tracking purposes, chief needs to call to go through dispatch so there's a record of what he's been asked to do, rather than like calling the officer directly on his cell phone. Okay, extracurricular activities was one of the things I had pointed out in the last meeting that Superintendent Young was here for, that we've had a problem with covering. And kind of hand in hand with that, it was how many hours would be spent there in the way that scheduling would work. What we were able to agree on, and I've added to the new version of the agreement, is that chief is going to be the one that sets the schedule. The officer has to have one boss. And the way that was kind of being proposed before was that he would work for Roosevelt City, would be a Roosevelt City employee, would be reporting to chief, but then the superintendent and principals were going to be deciding where they spent their time. To fix that, we have specifically put in here that chief will set the schedule, that he will take into consideration what the superintendent and the principals want, and then we'll make a good faith effort to accommodate their requests if he's able to. On the hours, we were proposing to reduce it to 32 hours rather than having 40 in here. My concern with that was we can't force the officer to work overtime, and they have to somehow be able to take vacation and sick leave. And so we ended up putting in there that when he's doing the scheduling, chief will do his best to keep it at the 40 hours subject to Roosevelt City policies and procedures, which we talked specifically with the school board that is intended to make it so they can take vacation sick leave. They were fine with that.
When the school has a break for Christmas or whatever, will that officer just pick up responsibilities for the department in the city?
Yeah, or that would be an opportunity for him or her to
take their
vacation and stuff and not miss out on everything.
The recommendation of the school board is that they utilize those times for their vacation if possible.
Yes.
And then saying through the summer, they could reassign them, or if they have vacation, they were not using the summer work too.
Yes.
The next one is one we kind of worked out in advance, but verified it in the meeting. Is the original request was for a lengthier period of time. I don't remember exactly how when the SRO would start, when they would leave. We ended up agreeing that they'll start a week before classes start in the fall, and then we'll be finished on the last day of classes in spring. Okay, and then there were a number of just really stylistic changes. It wasn't substantive changes that Superintendent Young had asked for in the last version that he sent over. I had no problem with any of those, so I incorporated all of them with one exception. And this is the one you had pointed out, Chief, where it said throughout the county, and I changed it to throughout the city. And it's something I haven't been able to talk to Superintendent Young about, but in the meeting, it sounds like we're gonna have, I'll point that out specifically, but I think it was an unintentional use of the word county instead of city. Okay, so I think that covers everything that's in this agreement, and I think it is ready.
Any questions from the council?
Will, when we vote on this, or when someone makes a motion, will it still need to leave opening for modification if?
If you would just say subject to legal review, and then if there is something minor that's not a substantive change, I'll inform you guys what the change is. And I don't really think that's gonna come up. I don't know exactly what Superintendent Young wants to talk about, but I feel like this one, we went over in fine detail. So I think both sides had that joint meeting already. Reached an agreement.
I was just thinking of not knowing what his concerns were.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea in the motion to approve a subject to legal review.
Just for your information, the school board will be meeting next Thursday on the 12th. And so that's when I'm sure they'll put that on the agenda. But I'll meet with Superintendent Young tomorrow and double check it.
Yeah. All right, seeing no, well, unless there's questions, but if not, is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the legal counsel review.
Okay, you have a second? Second by Councilman Cloward, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. We're gonna forego the Moon Lake resolution support letter. That's not quite ready yet, but we will get that ready. Moon Lake Electric right away, sports complex. Do you have that one, Grant?
I can, unless somebody else is planning.
Or Ryan? I don't have anybody's notes on my thing, so go ahead.
When we go there, this is really complicated. Basically, this is on Roosevelt City property, requesting a right of way that's, I believe, 680 feet on the west side of the maintenance shop to get power back to the sports complex. Let's see. I think it was a 60-foot, by the way. Am I wrong on that? I don't know my notes on my other thing.
That's what I'm remembering too, Ryan.
Yeah, it's 60. So, yeah, the yellow line right there shows where the power's gonna go, and it's gonna go on the east side of this complex, which when we get it mounted up, it'll be on that maintenance shed as well, as it comes in.
That's right, it was main, yeah, like, just to service our own infrastructure that's going service.
Yeah, the service with power. Not much to it, but it has been reviewed by Grant. Everything looked good with Moon Lake, and we're okay to proceed forward.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, we're gonna entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We tied. Maybe said approve.
Motion by Councilman Cloward, second by Councilman Barry. He rescinded his motion.
Let's try now to go back and retype someone else's name instead of mine.
Yes, that is correct. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Rural Community Consultants Proposal, Josh?
Actually, Jim's gonna handle this one there.
Okay then, my thing lied. I'm gonna say Josh on it.
Okay, council, this would be an amendment to the contract that we had with Rural Community Consultants to extend their scope of services to help us finalize and publish the amended code that we have not brought to you yet, but they have a roadmap basically for the next several months to put us into March with strategically bringing chapters to yourselves and the Planning Commission for review and acceptance. They have an outline of their scope of work, price to extend this contract to March of in between $5,000 and $7,350. that would basically get to the codifying process and then get this finalized.
So the draft that came out to us with the agenda, it looked like it was gonna finish in December. Did that get rewritten?
So we have revised that.
I was gonna say, that's way too fast.
So on the screen now, we have the new dates that will put us into February, March.
That's better.
Yes, that'll be.
Still gonna be super fast.
It will be, and it will take some time for council and for the planning commission to dedicate some time and get this through. One note, the state legislation has complicated the land use chapters in our code. They have SB 174, which has reevaluated the way that we handle subdivision reviews and the process that we now will have to take through planning, zoning, and city council, what we can, what we can't do. This will include that scope in their process and in that bid price to get us in compliance by February 1st, 2024, which the state, to be in compliance with the new statute, would get us to that date. So this would include that scope of work as well.
Is that the additional, I read through that and I wasn't 100% sure I was clear on what that additional was.
Yeah, so in that as well, and I don't know if it was included in the packet that you got, but the potential funding opportunity, was that in your? So there is money available with SB 174 to help municipalities fund the reorganization and structure of our codes. We could potentially receive up to $14,000 if we qualify. And the RCC group, Jones and DeMille, that is affiliated with, they are on the short list for approved engineer firms to organize and structure this program. So there's a potential that we could, given the worst case scenario on the $7,350, but we could potentially receive up to $14,000 to pick away at that as well.
That's in our budget?
So would we have to reopen the budget for this?
Yes, I don't know. I don't think we put anything in, because we did not know where we were going forward with this. So,
One thing with this subdivision changes, these are mandated by the state, they're vitally important. This is one of those necessary things we have to do.
Thanks, state legislature.
They've been great to work with.
Thanks.
They've been great to work with, and they're committed to get us up to date by the first on the subdivision. That's the 170.
So I got a process question. So they've got it pretty clearly laid out there, but I just want to make sure. It said that they would prefer one representative from the state to work with them, which I totally understand. That's the best way to go. I just want to make sure that as a council, they're providing recommended changes. Somebody's going to be accepting those. I think that ought to be the council when it comes to everything other than, planning and zoning things. And then with planning and zoning, I think the recommendations should be there. The council should be able to review the recommendations. I think it should be clearly laid out so that we can look at everything that's been redlined, what was recommended from the city, and then, and make sure that we have an adequate opportunity to really look at that and make sure that we agree with it as a council.
In your proposed scope and the sections that will be coming through the planning and zoning, it will come to city council. Everything will come through city council to be approved.
Okay.
Staff won't be making those approvals. It will be coming through you 100%.
And whoever is designated with that person to work with them, I would just ask, because, for myself, that they are super, keep us informed and up to date as to what's going on. Like maybe send us an email as these changes occur. Today it's going to staff. Here's what we have. Just keep us informed as to what's going on. I think everybody, in order for us to really catch all these changes and see everything that's happening, this is a big deal. This is what we are elected to do, is to work through these city codes and make sure that they're representative of the people that we represent. And sometimes city staff, and there's nothing wrong with this, but it's just sometimes city staff will do what works best for them, not necessarily best for citizens. So I want to make sure that we have both sides here. And so that's why. So it will be super transparent and along the way, like I said, I don't know who's gonna be in charge, but just make sure we're well informed as to what's happening, when it's happening, so.
I can just clarify that, just be aware, Mr. Eshler,
Okay.
these are assigned one for community.
Okay, great.
So, and again, Councilman Baird, the outline is spelled out here, and you will be getting these sections that will be redlined for review. So Sunshine will be sending those out prior to your council, so you'll have enough time to review everything. Any questions, we can come before the council.
When would we find out about that 14,000? When's the?
Then they will be.
Have we applied for that already, or?
No, they're still trying to iron out that process, but
Okay.
the RCC group should know within the week if they are one that is selected for that program, which they're pretty confident they will be. So we will know if they are or not.
If they're approved, then we can apply.
It may be an approval process, it may be an applied situation, they're not sure exactly. It may just have enough money that's $3.3 million of that. So depending on how many groups they've got, we may have to apply, we may not have to, they're not quite sure on that, so. But yes, Councilman Baird will keep you posted on everything that way, so.
Good thought. So we have a price range of 5,000 to 7,500.
7,500, yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion in regards to that?
Move to approve.
A motion by Councilman Lyon,
Second.
second by Councilman Power. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And then we'll look for a budget amendment.
We're already behind.
Yeah,
Because we're supposed to do 1, 2, 3, and 4 in September.
let's get it done.
Yeah, the new updated version of.
Okay, yeah.
Let me get.
So wait,
All right. State Street Company Creek Tunnel Engineering Award, Brian?
Yeah, smiling.
I'll come stand, I'll come stand next to him so he doesn't fall down, right?
Yeah, you're using moral support.
If you remember right, back in January, we had CIPCO help us apply for some funding to Joint Highway regarding the tunnel that's gonna go over State Street. You guys remember that project? This is what it regards in this, and it was for $963,000 is what we were awarded. And we can get started now, actually, for that project, and staff's recommendation is to proceed forward with CIPCO, where they've been seeing the State Street project go through, as this is a part of that. So our recommendation is to have them provide the design, engineering, and the construction management of this project.
Any questions?
Oh, it's awesome to get that much money.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for helping us with that.
Yeah.
Much pleasure and looking forward to making it a really great project.
And so are we gonna have to put a bridge in and stuff? Cause
So it's actually gonna,
it looks like it just might be a culvert right now.
yeah, I was actually gonna comment a little bit more about it, and just, because we met last week, and after looking at it, and we're gonna look on site this week as well, and it's gonna be a little more complicated process than we think, because there's probably gonna be 2 culvert precast concrete that we're gonna have to deal with to somehow get that trail to go through there as well, because the old culvert that's in there is actually failing. Doesn't look good. I don't know if you guys have ever, I don't know why you would crawl under there, but if you have. So it needs attention. So while we're there, we thought we might as well do the whole thing right. We may apply for some more funding to finish it up and do it right too as well. So we might be back here asking for some, go forward for.
We also wanted to minimize the time that State Street would be closed.
Yeah.
But if we do 2 projects, it'd be, a lot longer. So it's part of the justification.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so tonight, just a reminder, we're not approving the full project scope at 963,000. We're only approving CIPCO as the engineers to be assigned and work on that project.
Yes.
Basically approving that you'll contact UDOT to tell them that you want to have this.
Correct. So that's what we're looking at tonight. Any other questions? Okay, if none, entertain a motion.
Motion this time.
Okay. I have a motion by Councilman Baird,
Second.
second by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Don, don't feel bad because I made that comment.
I just figured
You're good.
Rodney gave me a hard time at the barbecue too.
I don't remember that.
Don't take it.
No,
Don't take offense to that. So next, item, gun range power line proposal. So as everyone, at least the council is aware, and most everyone is aware, we have the 200 yard range that's been built. At the end of that 200 range is a power line
Right.
with transformers that look like targets. And we definitely don't want people shooting those. And so before we can open the 200 yard range, we felt it necessary to move the power line. The problem that we have is we have 300,000. Did we decide, was there any more than that or just 300,000 in the budget? So we have a grant application in with the DWR for $900,000. We have to have 25% match, which is $300,000. So the problem becomes if before we can open the 200 yard range, we got to move the power line. But if we spend the money, then we don't have the full 25% match for the grant. And so the question is, so let me give you the pricing on it. It came back, Ryan had Brandon go out there and look with Moon Lake, give us an estimate. To bury the line, it was $80,196 to go above and just around the backside. But have the poles in the air and the wire suspended would be $43,567. So I think our recommendation is to go ahead and move forward with the $43,567 and keep it above ground. But again, we have to make a decision. Do we spend $43,000 out of that $300,000 and then take a chance of leveraging, because basically that either we have to amend the budget again and figure out where we're going to come up with that $43,567 so that we can maintain the $300,000. Which if we did, then that $300,000 still is leveraged at a 75% rate, which brings in another $120,000 plus above and beyond that. So that's kind of the conundrum we're in and wondering what the council thinks. I don't know if there's even money in the budget to push some over, transfer.
And remember as well, I mean, anything we spend before it is awarded cannot count towards our match
Exactly.
share.
Right.
However, the 300,000 does not have to be captured. It can be like, it can be, in-kind, thank you.
Sure.
As well. So
we could get some donations. In fact, I know we visited with a company, I won't mention the name because I don't want to put them on the spot, that would donate the dozer work there for the 1,000 yard range, which is a significant amount of
as long
money.
as they don't do it before we're awarded.
And I don't think they would. All they're looking at asking in return is to pay the operators to run the dozers, but nothing else, basically, which is significantly cheaper than what the entire project cost would be. So we could use that. So we still have some leveraging chips, I guess, that we could use towards that 25% match. It is one of those things I feel okay about it just because, given that explanation as well, I'm thinking about that and think about that.
If you haven't been out there, I'll tell you that 200 yard range looks awesome. I mean, they did some great dirt work out there. I was very impressed. They were still finishing up some. They were, bringing their belly dump and bringing more dirt and spreading stuff, but it looked really good. So this is definitely going to be a boon, I think, to the area. I think it's needed, and if we can do the in-kind, I think that's what's going to save us. As long as we don't go crazy, I think 40, that might be let's just do that and not anymore. I think I'd be willing to look at that as opposed to, cause I know, but we should be finding out pretty soon, shouldn't we? I thought,
Yeah, we have a meeting next week that we're gonna hopefully have some more.
cause I was thinking when we talked in our one meeting, it was October, November, wasn't it? Or am I thinking the wrong?
Yeah, we were actually, we did some things before the next meeting, which.
Right. So that's what I was thinking. So I would move that we go ahead and use part of that money to get the electric moved, just the overhead, the 45,000, whatever, sorry, Mayor. And that we go forward with it, because I'll tell you what, it's impressive when you get out there, and I think it will be a great asset to our community. So that's my motion, is to approve just up to that amount and no more.
So we do have a motion. Do we have any further discussion on that? Seeing none, would entertain a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Cloward. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is unanimous. And I tend to agree with Don. It's hard to pull that money out. I think the like-kind will come into play. Ultimately, this will actually give us a win on the gun range, get it open. People can start using it. I know we have some people that have donated a lot. They want to see, they're going to put in some benches still, but it's going to be donated to the city. So everything that has been done out there at this point has been completely donated to the city, which has been fantastic. This is the first expense we've had on the gun range, which is pretty fantastic. So
yeah, great.
Next, planning and zoning Drew for Bellevue right of way, and Troy, you're here apparently for that as well. So.
All right, so we searched high and low and everywhere in between and cannot find anything on these easements as far as any action taken by council in the past. So
The other one.
This is on Lagoon Street, right?
There's actually two of them.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the Joseph Thomas one.
Did
You want to talk to that one?
So I was asked, if everybody can hear me, but asked, this is your 500 West, this is the Suncrest PUD is what it's officially called. Apartments on every one of those, blue apartments. I was asked by the owner of that one, he wants to install a fence. Well, I went out and staked it, and there's some 13 feet between your back to sidewalk and that. So, another situation for you guys to consider.
Fun.
I can find them all if you want. Every old subdivision you have in your city will have that problem.
Do you know, I have a thought though, and this is something just to keep in mind. Now, so there's 13 feet between the street and the fence.
Between where the property, this is the other one. So essentially what we're finding across the city, between your built infrastructure, your sidewalk, your curb and gutter, and your pavement, from there to the property line is causing excess more than I think the city wants to maintain.
Yeah, and I don't disagree. One thought that came to my mind as we're looking at walking, biking paths throughout the city, and this is coming to my mind only because we've had this discussion on State Street as well, because we have the curb and then a strip of grass and then the sidewalk, and we're thinking, what do we do with that? It's a mess, you know. It kind of a similar situation, not exactly like this, but we actually have considered maybe taking that strip out and making a walking, biking path from the culvert or the underpass at State Street and coming down State Street and connecting that on down, you know, making that a part of our path system and our trail system through the city. So one thought is if we deed that ground to the residents there, then they get to take care of it, and then that's one thing we don't have to worry about. However, if we are looking at safe walking paths, maybe extending that sidewalk out, making it wide enough that we could have walking, biking paths in certain areas and expand our trail system, that may be something we take into consideration that I didn't think about prior until we started talking about some of these others. So just keep that in mind too. I don't know you know, the blue apartments, I see as a potential for that because we do have kids walking and things like that. We can make, instead of get that further off the street for a safe asphalt walking biking path.
And in the blue apartment area, the only sidewalk that exists, so if you can go back to that one, Sunshine. Your sidewalk conveniently ends, so it does not extend down to the lagoon. So the sidewalk ends at the end of the subdivision. So here, there is no sidewalk. People's fences get close to that. It's kind of a, so I understand what you're saying, but this doesn't connect to anything, but so it start there and end.
So they've already come out past that. Now, do they own the property at that point, or are you gonna look into that too, Troy?
I can look into that. It's just, so I looked for a city vacation of the street. I could not find any. I didn't dig super hard, but I know that there's been some done, but yeah, like residents across the street here are occupying out to or close to the city infrastructure, like say south of the blue apartments. Same thing's happening. So it's just people are occupying stuff that the city owns, and I don't know what your guys' concerns are there, if there are any.
Well, I think it's something that we definitely have to address. Maybe, what is your recommendation, Drew?
The thought would be, especially from the Bellevue area, how many feet on the backside of curb do we have there, Troy?
There was 8, I
8
think.
feet.
8 on one side and 6 or 7 on the other.
And this would be on the backside of the curb. The thought would come to mind that we give or sell whatever we want to do back to the property owner, but we retain the right of way in case now, let me back up a little bit. The utility companies, Dominion, Dominion, Strata, Moon Lake are now requesting and requiring 10 feet on the back of sidewalk for their easement on both sides of the road. So that could be something that we could roll into moving forward easements. If we ever need that, we retain that right, but we don't have to maintain. And I think identifying a trail system in these areas would probably be a great idea if we want to utilize them before we alleviate and give that back to them. But to maintain that right away, I think would be something we would want to keep.
So
it doesn't go ahead.
So I talked to the county on this. So in this situation, it doesn't make sense for you guys to just vacate this piece in front of the building.
Exactly.
So you would have to vacate all of it in order for that to become more legal. Every one of those lot owners would have to essentially sign something saying that they would take ownership of that. Otherwise, you have the example I was given is in Duchesne, they vacated lots of streets. Well, they vacated it to some guy that's now dead. So it's been that long that no one took ownership of it. So in a case of a situation like this, we would
have to amend all
that whole subdivision would have to be amended, and every landowner or lot owner would have to
sign off.
So it's not, it's just an example. But.
Well, I think for me, I would say a little bit more research, maybe looking at some of the areas that would be vacated, how they might integrate with the trail system if they could, and this one that has no potential, talking to some of the utility providers and making sure that we allow for adequate easement for them. And then that would be my suggestion. Any thoughts from the council?
So on that easement, one question that's come to my mind is that new construction or existing? Because they probably have existing infrastructure here already. Question.
Yeah.
Or Mount, whatever they were, Dominion.
We'll have to look. I would say let's take a peek and see where they.
Okay.
Moving forward. Right now, the utilities are within that city easement that we have, say it's 66, 56 foot, but they are now requiring 10 foot on the outside of that 56 and 66 foot roadways.
So, yeah, and if we own the property, that's easy to write the easement in and maintain the easement and still deed deed the property to the property owner and maintain an easement for utilities there.
Exactly.
So, that sounds very nice, and we looked at that avenue.
Okay, I'll get the landowners, nothing.
Northeast Street Council storm drain, you're not finished.
This was on the agenda. The planning and zoning was approached by Northeastern Counseling Center and Gordon Snow to upgrade the storm drain that was approved for the new building for Northeastern Counseling Center. Right now it has detention ponds. It was approved with detention. They proposed a storm drain from 8 South basically to the gulch, and passed through planning and zoning with the approval that it would be engineered to city specs, sized accordingly. They have since decided to maintain that easement for Northeastern Counseling Center and not give that to Roosevelt City. It will be a private line, not built to city standards. So just updating on that, why it was on the agenda, now it's not on, just giving you an update.
Okay. And then, don't sit down, Southtown subdivision final.
Okay, Southtown subdivision, this is a subdivision south of Roosevelt. It's about 1080 south, just south of 1080 south, where the old sewer lagoons were down south of town. This will be a 62 lot subdivision. It is proposed to do 15 homes in the first phase. Correct? Correct. That is all that Moon Lake will be able to supply as of within the next year.
Are you serious?
So,
well, there goes our home prices.
Substations
Just
coming.
this year.
Just this year.
After this year, they're gonna.
Sounds like they're bringing up some space.
And where is this again? Sorry.
So, south
Before you hit the gulch.
Yeah, before you hit the gulch, going South State Street. So, there's not a plat prepared for you tonight to sign because there is going to be a change on the sewer. They're having a hard time getting grade, so it's looking like we may have to do something different on the sewer. So once my recommendation will be approved with the design finalized for the sewer with our engineers and the staff.
Do they own any of the property where the gulch goes through right there?
Yes, and in fact, I'd like to mention.
Can we ask to see if they own?
So in the design of this, we have approached them about giving us an easement for our trail system and potentially some other infrastructure down there. Roosevelt City does own that corner of property right there. And we have discussed a future potential trailhead for our trail system.
Isn't that about an acre right there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the pump track had been taken out because of the new ball field. And there was a thought of where could we put the new pump track. I've heard of an idea and even thought of this piece of being a pump track that would just be off the trail system right there, just a little bit. I think it's about an acre if I remember correctly.
An acre.
So, just a thought. I mean, if we wanted, because the pump track isn't a real big area, but that's, closer to the pump track. Where bikes get on and you get the bike on top of the hill and then you can go through the whole track without having to pedal and things. And you've got jumps and turns and fun things for small kids. Being nice bikers.
Fat kids.
That makes more sense. What was that, Troy?
Oh, yeah.
For the record?
So have they done the soil test and have those come back?
So they have, you got your geotech.
Yeah, geotech.
Yeah, so yes, they have got that back and received and has passed as far as the engineers.
Who owns the property to the east?
So Rock Bank does for now. Like that may be in some negotiations right now.
Okay, okay. And then I own the property to the south of Nate Rock Bank. And I would be willing to, so it goes across the gulch there as well, and I would be willing to do an easement on that north side for that trail. So really, we'd only have to get the current property owner who's doing the subdivision a little sliver through Nate Rock Bank's place, and then it could, and then I would be willing to donate do an easement for the city on over to the other side, which would connect us and then on up Fifth East. So we might want to talk to Brockbank and just see if he would be willing to do something like that. Or if it's sold to the same owner,
I think that is going to be the case.
then maybe that's something we can do. I know Winterton's weren't real favorable to it, but having our property there, this property owner, if they're favorable, and then me and the other, I mean, we can have that section of the trails secured.
So, like I said, we do not have the plat finalized because of the sewer discrepancy, and that is one of the reasons why they're negotiating property to flow sewer back to the east. Because they can't make grade go back to south, that's at the State Street location. So that is going to be updated on that for the plan, your signature, but we would look to approve it with the sewer design by staff and engineers, and then we can get the plan to design. If that works for you guys.
Drew, when we talked before about this, you mentioned it technically was approved before. There's some adjustments. We're really approving the adjustments, right? Because the city approved it in the past.
It's a plat amendment. We are doing a plat amendment as well as the construction design.
What's the current zoning and what size is this?
It's R16, and these lots are very,
Around 6,000.
yes, 6,000 minimum.
Any other questions? And so in the motion, I think it'd just be contingent on the sewer plant being approved and designed and approved to Fifth East.
Or whichever way they decide to go.
Yeah.
Just on the sewer design.
Okay.
I'll motion to approve this subdivision pending sewer system engineering and design review by city staff.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second it.
And the second by Councilor Rosenbark, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Chief Watkins is sleeping over there just. Dustin Lynch. With the Income Trust Resolution.
Mayor, there was, before Councilman White goes, there was a Hillcrest. Did we need to do that
Oh,
one?
sorry, we scratched that from the.
Okay, that's all I was checking. Thank
Thank
you.
you, though. Yes. Good catch.
All right, so, at the Utah League of Cities and Towns Conference, beginning of September, part of the trade show, this In God We Trust America had a booth. And I had walked through the trade show multiple times. But
Chief, that is the correct lettering for In God We Trust. Can you go back? I'm just kidding.
It does look girly.
Anyway, yeah, go back one more. Yes, that's okay.
Yes, sir.
So I didn't personally stop at this booth. It was in the evening. Everything was winding down. I found Josh, visiting with him. We were just sitting against the wall on a chair there, and we were right across the booth. And the lady was there, and she came over and started talking to us, telling us about her desire to get our nation's motto displayed throughout our nation. Her goal is to get this displayed in city council chambers, county council chambers, state offices, but I'll just read a little bit off of this flyer that she gave us. On July 30th, 1956, during the Dwight D. Eisenhower administration, Congress adopted In God We Trust as the official national motto of the United States of America. Then she goes on to say she was for over 20 years a city councilman in Bakersfield, California. During her time there, she was listening to the radio at home and heard some fuss back east that people were trying to get this taken out of particular display on public. I'm not sure if it was a city or where. And she said, I take an issue with people wanting to remove things that officially are adopted by our country as our national motto. And so that's what brought her to start this initiative. That she would be the opposite and say, let's display this in more places. On February 22nd, 2002, Councilmember Sullivan went to Bakersfield City Council to vote yes to prominently display the national motto "In God We Trust" in their city council chamber at City Hall. Soon after, other cities and counties began to do the same. In God We Trust America was created in 2004 to encourage elected officials across America to vote yes to display our national motto. This patriotic campaign is legal and the number of victories continue to grow. There have been no legal challenges because there's nothing to challenge. It's legal, so let's display it. So Josh and I, in visiting with her, said, yeah, we'd be willing to propose to our council and see if we can get that displayed. The website here, it's been scrolling through some pictures of, these are just areas that have taken this challenge to display this motto. And it's just the different ways that they have decided to do it. That's kind of going to be up to us, how we want to do that. Just so you know, Duchesne City in 2014 brought this to their council, and that's been, I think, in fact, one of these pictures is of Duchesne City. Also, Duchesne County, just in August this year, voted to display "In God We Trust" in their county council chambers. Also, Davis County and Plymouth in Fox Elder County, a little town in Fox Elder County, has also voted to do this. So I did send you some other information. Hopefully you had time to look at that. If you have any questions, I sent it to Grant too, because I know there could be people claiming legal issues, but I don't know that there are any, but definitely something that could come up. So, any other questions or?
I think it's awesome.
I think we do it.
Yeah.
Seeing no questions, I
move we approve and get it done.
Motion to approve. Do we have a second? Second by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous.
That's awesome. I like the one you two were pointing out, "In God We Trust" on either side of Roosevelt.
I think we get a little bit bigger Roosevelt there.
Yeah,
And then, yeah.
I think it would too, so.
Excellent.
Yes. Yes. One quick thing, speaking with these individuals of this organization, we have a very legitimate shot of being the very first county with every city incorporated to have this adopted by resolution.
Nice.
We are by far the closest. We're a small county, but we are honestly very close with those who already adopted it. So this could be something that nationwide we can go through.
Excellent. That's what we want to lead the nation. Land easement, this is one I'll take real quick. So the land use easement agreement with Wills and the land use right-of-way agreement with Wills. Basically one and the same, they're just two different documents. We have a generic document that Brian has worked with Grant and others on to just do a generic easement right-of-way for all the property owners in the area where we want to go. However, Wills, we did have a separate agreement because of the amount of property that we're moving through with them and some of the other things that they wanted to see happen to do that, which I felt was reasonable to a degree. Grant, do you want to go ahead and explain some of this? We'll go ahead and invite you up where you were instrumental in helping this come along, but the good thing is the Wills have agreed to move forward, and Grant will explain the
Yeah, The part that you're probably most interested in is we move down to the compensation.
It was up just a little higher. Yeah, up just a little higher. A little higher. Right there. No, down one, yeah. Just one.
At the bottom.
Okay, so when we started trying to negotiate this, you'll probably remember that water is what they were really wanting, but delivery still needed to be worked out. They did not end up getting that approved, but we wanted for them to still be able to take advantage of the Class B water share if it became an option in the future. And so where we're ending is basically they're going to have a first right of refusal on that in the future. They would pay for it. And right now, to go ahead and get this taken care of, we would be paying them the $18,000. We would put in fencing. They would help probably with some of that, unless something's changed, JR. They wanted to build an archway there and use that as an access into the property as part of that. They're going to do that, but then we would maintain fencing along the side of the trail. Right? And I think that really gives you an overview of where we've ended up. It really is just changing from the last discussion we had about just the water to first right of refusal on the water, where they would pay and we pay them the $18,000.
So any questions on that?
We're really close, right, to getting all our easements?
This is the last one.
This is the last one?
We need two more to be officially signed or approved by you.
Yeah.
This is definitely the one that we need.
Right. Well, I would move we approve. We've been talking about this for a while, so I'm pretty comfortable with it based on Grant's and Mayor's recommendation.
Have a motion to approve contract. Do we have a second? Second by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion is unanimous. One other thing just of note is they asked if we could, we don't have to like go out and survey and actually put stakes or, rebar in, but if we could just mark when they go through and do that, if we could just mark the corners between the property line, because when we put that fence in, then they'll continue the fence between the other property owners. I don't think it would be much of a cost at all while we're out there, but it would be good to just to mark those forms so that they can get the fence in the right spot. Okay. All right. Moving on. Innovation Hub. Man, Craig, we should put you towards the beginning.
Do we need to do another motion for the other trail easement? Just the simple right away, or?
Let's do it just in case. So we have, I don't know, it would be the and, so the, which one, which?
This is the right of way. You're in the.
Okay, so and this is just a simple right-of-way agreement that we have all of them signed, so.
I move we approve the trail easement.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is unanimous. Innovation Hub bid warning. God, we made you go, we let the other engineers go earlier.
I have copies of the bid tabulation if you need to see it. Maybe there's right there. Okay. So we conducted the bid opening. We did only have one bidder. However, after reviewing his bid, we feel that it was within what we were after. And his bid, it was Unique Construction, local contractor. The bid is $171,098 for the exterior improvements on the Innovation Hub. And everything checked out. So our recommendation is that we recommend the council award this bid to Unique Construction. And we further recommend that you consider the alternate bid items to be used as a replacement base bid items, items 4, 5, and 6. The architectural shingle roof to be replaced by a standing seam metal roof. The existing window replacement and the new window installation both to be vinyl frame. Now, let me just explain a little bit. The increased cost for a standing seam metal roof rather than the asphalt shingles is $16,000. It's not that much more. In my opinion, the metal roof is a lot more durable, and so that's why I would recommend spending that extra money there. Now, as far as vinyl frame windows for items 5 and 6 there, to replace the aluminum frames. Aluminum has historically been used as commercial. But, however, my research has shown that vinyl frame is actually more energy efficient. It does look nice, and you actually have less problems with moisture in the window with vinyl frames. And so, again, coming from a durability standpoint, there's one thing that aluminum can handle better than the vinyl, and that's impact. So if it was impacted by a rock or hammer or whatever, aluminum will hold up better. But other than that, vinyl kind of beats it. And the cost difference to replace the existing windows, there was a reduction in cost of $1,500. But for the new windows, the reduction in cost was actually $19,829 less than aluminum frame. So, because of that difference in price, I think that you take that money that was going to be spent on aluminum windows, you put it into the metal roof. That's my recommendation, and the total contract bid price, if we chose the recommendations I've set forth, would be actually $166,040. So that's my recommendation.
Thank you, Craig, and thank you for all the work on that and getting that to this point. And, I know when we came before, it was way over budget and things like that. And this is well under budget. We have approximately, I was talking to Ryan today, and approximately $500,000 of grant money that we've got for this building. We can get the exterior done at the 167.6, yeah. And then then we can go immediately out to bid. Just let's make sure that the inside is exactly how we want it, and then we can go out to bid for the inside and see how much of the inside we can get done with the remainder, and maybe get that money. We have a deadline by April?
Yeah.
April 30th to get this done, and so we could possibly get the whole building done now that we've kind of redesigned and changed with the money that we have. At least we can give it a shot.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious what everyone's thoughts are on the metal versus architectural shingle. I like the look of architectural shingles. Do we have, and I've seen a lot of metal roofs that just kind of got put in there that they don't look like they were installed properly, or they didn't do the trim and everything. What is there specs that outline how he would do the metal roof to make sure that it's done commercial quality?
Every metal roof manufacturer will have their manufacturer recommendations on how to install it, and make sure it gets installed correctly. And that's the specification that you would use.
Okay. And do we have a specific, we would just let him have the discretion to choose whatever he wants as far as which manufacturer, which metal to use?
He is required to submit whatever product he's going to use. He has to submit it to the city, or the representative of the city managing the project to make sure that it meets the specification.
And just the difference time-wise, I mean, a good architectural shingle roof is years, I guess. What about the metal roof? How long?
Architectural shingles are, in my experience, 30 years is pretty good. I don't know that they really last that long. The metal roofs, though, they will last 40 to 50 years. They have that baked on enamel
Okay.
finish, so.
Okay, that was actually my question, so thanks for asking.
Yeah, I've seen, shingles last, at least 30 years without any issues. But yeah, it probably depends on how it's installed, like the product and.
The product is the main thing, getting a good quality product. And, metal roof will oxidize a little bit, the paint won't be as bright after just a few years. But they really are better roofing products, more durable, especially for commercial.
Maybe, if you feel comfortable with the price, which I think we're definitely, I think, personally looking at it and being involved with it this long, that's a great price. And maybe we could just, once we get to that point in the project, have that option come back before the council for final approval. Maybe do a little research. I don't know if you guys are concerned about it. That you can come back and say, here's what I would suggest on that. And it could be next council meeting, I guess. I don't know.
Is there anything I should?
It's gonna have to be fairly quick.
City staff and council, I guess I'm wondering, is there a preference?
My preference.
I think aesthetically, I like it. Architectural shingle roof more myself, but that's just my opinion. There's a lot of opinions here, so.
I like the copper. If we could just go with the copper metal.
Copper solid.
Well, if you do put an architectural shingle roof on, you'll save another $16,000. I don't. So you're getting even less, and you'll have more money to put towards the interior. I recommended the metal just because I believe it's more durable. It's 10 to 20 years longer.
Yeah, one of the things that I've seen in that building, just looking at it, is that there are leaks in the roof, and it is shingles. And so it's like, because and I don't know why, maybe it's.
I think the roof is over 40 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's ever been re-roofed.
And I'm different than Councilman Barrett. I would lean towards the metal versus the architectural shingle, but that's just preference more than anything.
Yeah. Well, I'm okay with whatever everyone else wants, but I was just curious. And as far as, so the contractor, did you work with Jose?
Jose Beltran, yeah.
Okay.
He's there.
Does he have a crew that's gonna do all this, or does he subcontract a lot of stuff?
The electrical, he gave us a list of subcontractors that he will be using. Electrical is one of the things that he subcontracted, that he has considered the framing and all that. I have dug into detail as to how many crew members he has.
But he does a lot of it himself.
So that's what it appeared to me.
I just hope his quality and craftsmanship is good, so I don't.
I can vouch at least, and I wasn't involved with the process, so I can be a neutral party here. But he assisted me in getting CarQuest up to where it's at, and I was happy with the work that was done there. They have their subcontractors, with their stucco and their rock and things like that. He would probably be doing the framing, maybe some of the. Well, that's probably it. He'd probably do a lot of the framing and things and the roof, maybe, but then I think he has subcontractors that come in and do stucco, hot, and electrical, things like that. So they do good work, and I was happy with what they did, and we got it for a good deal as well. And I don't know the quickest, but I don't think we're under a super time crunch other than wanting to get this done before December.
We did talk about that. He said he can get started, at the end, the last week of October, basically is what he said. And that really falls right into our timeline because he's got to get his insurance and with that all in order. So we're already in the first week of October, so it's,
gotcha.
He's right in line, basically starting immediately as soon as we can get contracts going. So.
Okay. Any other questions?
I would just move we approve with the vinyl windows suggestion and the steel roof. That's my motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have any discussion or an amended motion just based on the discussion?
I'll second the motion.
Seeing none, we have a second to the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is unanimous. Thank you, Craig. City attorney contract, we're gonna push that off one more. Sorry, Grant. Quickly, Dustin, will you present quickly?
Yep.
I've got a hard deadline in 3 minutes.
Awesome. I can be quick, no problem. So it's time to replace those trees out on State Street. After much research, I would like to present this tree and propose that we put a spring snow crab in. After researching and talking with RNs, what would be the best tree for this area? We've also planted the same tree around our facilities. And also a few years back, on State Street, we worked with, Moon Lake. And we switched out those trees and they're currently planted there on State Street. So just to kind of match with those trees, I believe that this would be a good option. It is an upright, broad, rounded tree with a profusion of fragrant, pure white flowers in mid-spring, draped in clusters along the branches. They are truly a sight to behold. Crabapple is well adapted to compacted urban soil, tolerates drought and poor drainage, and is tolerant of salt spray. Well, all things that we need to think about when we're planting out here because it's horrible soil, and also, when Kirby comes around, it's wow. So
That's twice, Kirby, and I'm gonna give you one more time.
But like I said, we planted these there on State Street, on that easement, and I think this would be a great option to get planting. Or we're thinking about 5. There's currently 7 of those trees out there. That's too many. We're gonna cut back to 5. So.
I just like they're fruitless, that's good.
It is fruitless. Well, in the spring, I don't know if you've seen on State Street, they're bright white, they look really cool, and they are not messy, which we have that problem right now. They're very easy to maintain. They only grow about 20 to 25 feet. That's the maximum grow, and same weather as well. So pretty easy to maintain, and that's kind of what we're looking for, but they look good.
Cool. Any questions, thoughts? Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion to approve? Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? I second. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Busenbark. All in favor? Councilman White? No opposed, so motion is unanimous. Purchase orders went past. Any questions about those?
No, move we approve.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Councilman Cloud. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. What do you have for us, Ryan? Oh, that one's being Xed as well. Sorry. Should have mentioned that. Capital project updates. Can we forego that to the next one? Is that okay? Do you have anything major?
I can just update you or whatever you want to do.
I would just recommend council go look at the park when they get the walking path and those things. I've been up. The only thing concerned is the ball fields seem to be a little slow right now. There's not a lot of action after they get it all. Really.
Give us a 2-minute quick.
The ball field is kind of slowed down a little bit. The owner of Armor Construction is still hunting, and for some reason, when the owner's gone, nothing gets done. But we do have a meeting with them in 2 days and push forward. They are starting the fence. Musco Lighting is coming down. We're waiting for that last bid on that contract to be cleaned up so we can get it signed so they can proceed forward. The biggest thing with the sports complex that you should probably know, we're gonna have to extend the deadline a little bit because we can't lay sod in time this year. So that we're gonna be laying sod first thing this spring. So that's the biggest thing there. So we're gonna be pushing that back, but we're still hoping to have it ready for that first big tournament in June. So that's the goal. The nature park, we are currently doing road base on the trails right now. The pond is stocked with fish, however, it cannot be fished. It's kind of a test run for them. The DWR wants us to make sure.
Nobody fishes.
Yeah, nobody.
Is there more than catfish in it now?
Yes. Yeah, I was hesitant to answer that. Yeah, there's trout and a little bit of cat. A little bit of cat.
The survivors.
So everything's looking good. They are doing the road base
on the trails this week. And then the first of next week, when it gets warmed up, they're gonna start paving. So hopefully by the end of next week, we'll have it paved and ready. We had some companies chip in and did an awesome work on the amphitheater. So if you get a chance, I still would walk down in there. Just be careful because there's machinery going around a lot right now, but the amphitheater's done and looks phenomenal. So they did an awesome job.
And I think it's worthy of mentioning.
Yeah.
All Reds,
Landscaping, and then Nate Robinson
and IWM.
IWM.
I mentioned to Ryan, we ought to, city council, mention those that donated, but also put something up down in the nature park to make sure we thank them for that, because I know B&G did a lot with getting the bridges in to help us with the crane and stuff, so.
Yeah, we've had a lot of companies, and I don't want to miss one, so I don't want to go through them all right now, but
Right.
definitely we want to recognize them and have something. So things are going good there. And real quick, you already know about the Innovation Hub, and then the gun range. We've already talked about that, just waiting for that last little bit of funding, so. Overall, we're rolling right along, projects are going good, and hopefully we'll get a few more started.
That's what I was gonna say, Ryan thinks we need at least 3 or 4 more to replace these when they're done.
That's what I was thinking, he has a couple little hairs on his head.
There's some in the hopper, so we'll definitely find out for more work, so. Anyway, any questions on those?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Josh, do you have anything for us tonight?
Yeah, Ryan, you can hold my power. Any questions for me? No. I'll forego my, I'll pay for next time.
Okay, committee reports, anything?
No.
From the committees? Okay, no closed session tonight. Items for future discussion, I think we've got plenty on the list on the board.
Just a reminder of the policy statement for the public infrastructure district. We were supposed to read that, and then, so just a reminder. So other than that, I would move we adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? Second by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.